We're live.
There we go.
And we're recording.
Oh, there's Norm.
No, not a man.
Sorry there, I was working in my garage. I forgot it was 6.
Okay, and I was unable to reach Mr. Duhaime, so I guess he's
Good to go.
he'll either join us or not. He's not answering his phone. So I would guess we're ready to get going, Mr. Chair.
Yep, we're good to go. Call the meeting to order. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest? None. We need a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda of July 12th, 2021. Madam Joanne and Chris.
It is moved by Joanne Savage and seconded by Chris Fisher. Be it resolved that the agenda for the Planning Advisory Committee meeting of July the 12th, 2021 be approved as presented.
All in favor? Carried. Motion to adopt the minutes of June 14, 2021. Any errors or omissions that need to be corrected? If none, I need a mover and a seconder. Chris and Dan.
It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Dan Revita. Be it resolved that the minutes of the West Nipissing Planning Advisory Committee meeting held on June the 14th, 2021 be adopted as presented.
All in favor? Carried. So we'll move on to, well, before we start, we'll do our, for anybody in the audience, we'll start our meeting with the committee members and maybe the representative if we need his advice or his comments, but I will open the floor after members had their chance to voice their opinions or ask questions, and then we'll go to the audience. So just be patient, we'll get to you. So we'll go to the first one, 2021-08.
I have a mover and a seconder for the motion, please.
Mover and a seconder,
Sure.
Joanne and Chris.
It is moved by Joanne Savage and seconded by Chris Fisher. Whereas a public meeting was held for the purpose of amending zoning bylaw 2014-45 for property located at 15 Landfill Site Road and 12471 Highway 17 in Sturgeon Falls. And whereas no written concerns or objections have been received, be it resolved that the West Nipissing Planning Advisory Committee recommends or does not recommend that Council for the West Nipissing Municipality adopt the proposed zoning bylaw to rezone the property located at 15 Landfill Site Road and 12471 Highway 17 as follows. Schedule G6 of bylaw 2014-45 shall be amended by changing the zoning designation of the property shown, which are more particularly described as part of Lot 9, Concession 1 in the Township of Pedley, from light industrial M1 to heavy industrial M2. Through you, Mr. Chair, this application is being put forward by Sturgeon Falls Brush and Manufacturing. We all know that they have an operation just east of the municipality out on the highway. Their zoning currently is M1, which is light industry, and they are looking to establish a sawmill operation, which would necessitate a change in zoning from light industrial to heavy industrial for that use. The property is designated as employment in our official plan and contemplates all forms of industrial and commercial uses on that property. Circulation 400 feet, all properties, as well as MTO, hydro, and the railway. We received no negative comments, and that would be that.
So any comments on that? Norm and then Dan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I did review that application, and I find it very appropriate for the area. There's already, he does a lot of lumber work, and now he has to cut his board elsewhere, carry them there. So to have everything concentrated in one place within the municipality, I think it's it's a good improvement. It's good for business and it's good for West Nipissing. So I have my support there. Thank you.
Dan?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, through you, Mr. Chair. For those that have sat around the table longer than I have, Norm, did they, Norm would know this, didn't they have a sawmill there at one time, Norm?
No, it was elsewhere. That's why I think he wants to concentrate and save money. I believe Joanne is more aware than me of the exact location where it was before.
If I, maybe I can, well, maybe Joanne, but when I worked with the Ministry of Labor, there was a sawmill in the back there, way in the back.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if it was properly zoned, but that's a different monster.
Yeah.
Joanne, sorry,
Look, Mr. Chair,
pardon me?
Mr. Chair, I just want to, I just wanted to ask out of curiosity. I have no issue with the application.
I think he had one in the back.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments? Joanne, Chris, sorry, Joanne, Chris was first.
So just out of interest, just looking at the satellite map, I understand where the landfill site road is, but I see two roads that hit the highway on the satellite. Is that other road not named? I'm just a bit confused about where I am. It very clearly looks like it comes out to the highway, but it's, you know, Sandy Falls Road is at the one extreme end, but I see two roads in at each end of that property.
That might be the road that goes beside the house and where the sawmill was there way in the back.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
it's got no name, maybe?
No, no.
Just a driveway.
It's just a driveway. Okay, thank you. And yeah, I concur with Norm's comments. I think it's probably very good for the municipality and it's an appropriate site. Thank you.
And through you, Mr. Chair, just by way of clarification, the property only has legal access off of Landfill Site Road. The MTO a number of years ago prohibited the industrial entrance there where you see that road, their entrance, and there's a right of way actually, because at one time the properties were in two different names of related companies, and there was a right of way from the Landfill Site Road entrance, but their entrance, their ingress and egress is off of Landfill Site Road and intended to be so for this project.
Thank you, Melanie. Joanne?
Well, I was going to make reference to that, and I was making the assumption that was the reason that NTO did not submit an objection. I concur with the rezoning from light to heavy industrial. I mean, it just makes sense for all the right reasons. So I have no objection with this application.
Okay, thank you, Joanne. Mr. Pettering, are you the only one left? Do you agree or?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I guess it's carried.
Yeah,
Wait, well, sorry, you have to read the motion.
read it.
Sorry.
You just need to call it to a vote.
Yeah, well, technically, okay. Anybody in favor? Carried. There we go.
Perfect.
Back on track.
Back on track.
Um,
Okay, next item.
One,
A mover and a seconder.
Chris and Joanne.
It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Joanne Savage, whereas a public meeting was held for the purpose of amending zoning bylaw 2014-45 for property located at 140 Promenade du Lac in Sturgeon Falls. And whereas written concerns and objections were received, be it resolved that the West Nipissing Planning Advisory Committee recommends or does not recommend that the Council for the West Nipissing Municipality adopt the proposed zoning bylaw. Schedule H53 of zoning bylaw 2014-45 shall be amended by changing the zoning designation of the property shown on Schedule A, which property is more particularly described as parcels 13848 and 13856, Nipissing being part of Lot 1 Concession C, and Springer Township, from shoreline residential to shoreline residential exception zone 12 as follows. Through you, Mr. Chair, and I will turn it over. Mr. Bruyette does have a consultant with us this evening, Mr. Jaris from Tulloch Engineering. You will recall, just by way of history, this property was before us, I believe, last year, potentially the year before, where there was an application at the time to divide the property into two new lots and rezone it such that there would be two quite small lots created. That was refused by this committee and by council. and the project has been taken over by a different consultant who is proposing something different. What is being proposed here is to turn the existing camp that is on the property into an accessory dwelling, and to build a new dwelling on the property. The property is just about 1 acre in size. In my report, which I've discussed with the consultant, the intention is to, because the property is smaller than what is recommended in our official plan and bylaw, the recommendation includes placing the property under site plan control to ensure the development of the property in an orderly fashion. Also to have the property have a review done of the property done by the Conservation Authority to determine just what and how the property can be serviced with an additional field bed and water, depending if they need to get another well. So my recommendation includes placing the property under site plan control and entering into a site plan control agreement with the owner. You'll see our Public Works Department was circulated and is requesting a drainage easement for an existing historic drainage pattern that runs through the property from Nadsulac, and we're seeking to legalize that existing drainage easement. I think that there was comments from a neighbor. There has been some concerns raised with respect to water and boundary issues along the one boundary between Mr. Briette's property and the neighbor. And I believe that the consultant will be able to speak to those concerns and how they can be addressed. So I'll stop talking now and turn it over to Mr. Jaros from Tulloch Engineering.
Thank you very much, and good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Council. My name is Kevin Jaros. I'm a senior planner with Tulloch Engineering, and I am also a registered professional planner. And quite right, I have been retained to assist in moving this process forward in terms of making a rezoning application to facilitate. I'm sorry, there's somebody else who is unmuted, I believe. Yeah, thank you. I have been retained to assist with the rezoning application to facilitate some additional development on this property. As was said, there was a prior application that was brought forward to council to enable the severance of the property as is shown in the staff report. However, of course, that application was not approved because those resulting lots would have resulted in two quite severely undersized properties. Now we have shifted gears on the property to enable the creation of a second unit, which in fact would be the current bunkie, I'll call it, which is on the property currently. And then that bunkie, which is on the property currently, and it acts as the primary dwelling on this existing lot of record, would become a secondary unit or a second unit to a new dwelling, which is proposed for construction on the remainder of the property. So what you are actually seeing here is an application for rezoning to permit the construction of a new dwelling, but not to create a new lot or to facilitate the creation of any additional septic systems or other infrastructure that may have an impact on the lake or the environment beyond what would be permitted currently. And I say that because currently the bunkie that is on this property, of course, requires a septic system. There are washrooms and other facilities in that structure. The new dwelling, which is proposed for the remainder of the property, will of course require a new septic system, and the bunkie, which is on the property, which is going to turn into the second unit, which would be permitted through the approval of this application, will have to tie into that exact same septic system as the new dwelling. So you see one septic system for one property. Whereas, of course, all of the neighbor's property and Mr. Brulette's other property, which is directly beside this, also all require one septic system, given that they're all one existing lot of record, right? So really, I almost see this as not a technical amendment. It's certainly a true rezoning application, you could say. But the change on the ground from an environmental perspective is negligible at best. And I would also argue that the impact of this redevelopment may actually have a net improvement to the existing environmental situation. And I say that because, as was said before, this is a relatively smaller lot, which presents its own development and construction challenges. And when you're dealing with private services on a smaller lot, often you have to construct what's called a tertiary treatment system, which is it's your typical septic system, but newer technology that allows for smaller mantles and also enhanced cleaning of any of the effluent which is being generated and being treated through that system. So not only are we seeing a continuation, you could say, of the existing condition, again, being one existing lot of record with permission for one septic system, through this application and certainly through the site plan process, and that site plan process that would require the lot grading, drainage, and the other conditions that are associated with that process, including going to the Conservation Authority, will all come together to enable the redevelopment of an existing property with what will be certainly I'll say a significant development for the area, in the sense that it will generate those taxes and leverage the existing infrastructure that you see in this area, being, of course, the road and the ongoing maintenance that the municipality provides to that road, while still also representing a negligible, at best, impact to any kind of natural features in the area. So certainly, upon review of the report, which is in front of council, we understand and we agree, and in fact, one of the conditions that requires us to have a septic review by the North Bay Mattawa Conservation Authority, we did actually endeavor to complete that review before we came in front of council today. But unfortunately, COVID timelines didn't allow for that. So we are in full agreement with the conditions, and certainly thank council for their time, and really thank staff for assisting us through this process. It's been quite a pleasure actually working in West Nipissing. With that, I'll just conclude in saying that certainly in my professional planning opinion as the registered professional planner, I do see this application as being consistent with and conforming to the provincial policy statement, the growth plan for Northern Ontario, and of course the municipality's official plan. With that, I'm happy to take any questions whatsoever, and I'm also happy to address the comment that was the comments that were provided by the neighbor. But I hope that some of my comments that I just provided now may provide some insights in your consideration of those comments. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tulloch. Just to, not Mr. Tulloch, Kevin, just to clarify, this is not the council, this is just a committee of planning. It still has to go through council at a later date, just so we're all on the same page.
Of course, my apologies.
Okay.
This is my third public meeting of the day, so crossing wires.
Just to make sure. All right, so we'll open up the floor for the committee members. Any questions? Oh, geez. Dan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No doubt the neighbor seems to be very concerned about what we're going to be doing here and has raised certain issues. Perhaps you did summarize or gave us an overview to acknowledge those questions, but I would prefer that you do go through one by one and provide us with some information, because at the onset, I can't approve this with having a neighbor saying that it's going to have an impact on his tile bed, not his tile bed, but his system. And then the fact that he's saying that when there's storms, his section of the property is eroded. He sent us some pictures this afternoon. I just have an issue with where you're coming from. So if you would like to address those comments that the neighbor made, I would appreciate it.
Certainly would now be appropriate.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I'm happy to go through some of the comments that were provided. There was only one comment letter provided, correct? If I can just confirm.
Yes. That's
Okay,
correct.
thank you. Wonderful, great. I just want to make sure I have the right one.
There were some additional stuff that came in this afternoon. I think I sent
Pictures.
additional photos.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, yeah.
And a suggestion that the property be have a lot grading bylaw. Well, that'll happen with the building permit anyways, just to
Yes.
address that. But anyways.
Yeah, exactly. So the first comment in this in the neighbor's letter is with regard to erroneous lot lines. I can confirm to this committee that a boundary survey has been completed by an Ontario land surveyor and has confirmed the lot lines that are shown on the concept plan, which is in front of committee today. And I have great faith in our Ontario land surveyors, of course. So I hope that covers that one. Water runoff is coming from the property and running across the septic bed of 140 Promenade to the lake. So as Melanie just said, the condition requiring site plan approval here will deal with any kind of grading or drainage challenges in terms of water coming from either off of our site or being generated from our site, going on to any neighbor's properties. So I believe that some of the concerns that are addressed in this letter are more with relation to an existing condition or an existing drainage conflict, which may be true or not. I'm not an engineer, but certainly the site plan process, which would be a condition of this rezoning, will have to go through a lot grading plan and a drainage plan, which is actually prepared by Tulloch, by a professional engineer. That professional engineer ensures that, and again, any of the water which Mr. Brulette is responsible for in terms of coming from off of his site but running through his site or being generated from his property is dealt with in a manner that would have no negative impacts on any of the neighbors. So in fact, you would see either the reinstatement of swales or the requirement for new swales to direct that drainage away from those property lines and away from the neighbor's property, so that there is no impact to those neighbors. And that's quite a relatively routine requirement, certainly in the city of Sudbury, and is something that we complete quite regularly as part of rezonings and severances. With regard to a city culvert draining the north side of the road of the streets,
That's actually,
it has not been maintained for 40 years. I'm sorry?
that's actually, Mr. Guriette owns another property on the other side
Yes.
of the road that's outside the scope of this actual application. Like, perhaps that could be dealt with just as a side issue because it doesn't relate to this property specifically.
So that's exactly, I'm glad that we're in agreement. I was going to say exactly that seems to be an issue which is being generated off the site. And of course, when we're dealing with a rezoning application to deal with either a change in use or a minor revision to an existing use, we can only deal with really those matters that are subject to and part and parcel of the property which the application is over. The concern of the septic bed, now that the land has been raised on the edge of that bed. So there's requirements in the Ontario Building Code in terms of the separation of either works, slopes, or property lines from septic beds, either existing or proposed. So I have to admit, I don't have the benefit of knowing exactly where this neighbor's septic bed is, but assuming that it was built to that code, I would assume that there would be enough of a separation between their septic bed, the common lot line between these two properties, and certainly with the zoning setbacks that are already part of your bylaw, there would be enough separation from that joined property line to allow for construction on this lot with no impact to a neighbor's infrastructure. I would also note that, however, that this rezoning application is to enable that the existing bunkie on the property to be a second unit, and that's out of a desire of the property owner to keep that bunkie when they complete new construction or when they go in for new construction. It is entirely within the as of right permission of the bylaw for Mr. Brulette to demolish that bunkie, worst case scenario, and go in for a new building permit for a new residence of the same type, size, and location as we've shown on the concepts that we submitted through this application. So I would hesitate to think that those kinds of conflicts, as a matter of the land use application, which is in front of committee today, would be a consideration, if you could say, because the actual permission that we're asking for through this application doesn't have really an impact on that specific consideration. Certainly, though, if there is some kind of conflict in that kind of sense, I would envision that the health unit would either become involved or could be the matter could be discussed with the health unit, obviously, to ensure that a local resident doesn't have their septic system impacted to a degree that would pose a risk to public health or safety or the environment. But certainly, as I said before, that site plan, which is being recommended as a condition of the approval, is certainly key to this application, because that enables the municipality to have a tool in the planning toolbox, you could say, to enable an improvement again to that existing condition which you see on this property. And that existing condition is certainly, it sounds through the neighbor's letter, to have some challenges when it comes to that grading and drainage. And this site plan, again, prepared by a professional engineer, would endeavor, and in fact would require, that those grading and drainage challenges be rectified. So I hope that answers all of the questions from the letter.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Don, does that satisfy you?
Thank you.
All right, any other questions, Joanne and Chris?
So I just want to make sure I understand correctly. So the secondary dwelling on the same lot, that would be new construction of the bunkie. Is that correct? No?
Okay.
Okay,
The new dwelling that is being proposed, the old dwelling will be the bunkie.
okay, so the bunkie is going to be retained and the old dwelling is going to be demolished and rebuilt.
Yeah, it's a little more than a bunkie. That's why we're not calling it that. It's an
Okay.
actual dwelling. It has a kitchen. It has a bathroom. It's an accessory dwelling.
Okay, so the accessory dwelling right now on the property, is it occupied or not occupied at the present time? And the reason I'm asking is to find out pertaining to the systems like the septic system, water overflow, and etc. So I'm just asking the question right now to see, are there separate systems for both the permanent dwelling and the accessory dwelling?
Well, through you, Mr. Chair, there's only one dwelling on the property right now, and it has its own septic system. What's being proposed is to build another dwelling and upsize the existing septic system to allow another dwelling on the same property.
Okay, and to upsize, may I, Mr. Chair, just two more
Yes.
questions?
Yes, sure.
Okay, so to upsize the septic system, that would be a requirement upon obtaining the building permit, right?
Yes, indeed.
And the site control plan, which will incorporate the drainage plan, will that be registered on deed as well?
Yes, it will.
Okay, answered my question. That's what I want to find out. So this way we have the assurance that if approved by the planning board, that those conditions are going to be registered on deed and need to be met.
Thank you, Joanne. Chris?
Yeah, I just had a technical question, just because I haven't seen this before. I noticed that lot line, actually in the little bay, the lot line actually goes through, it's in Nipissing. So how does that work? Is that because that used to be land and they made an artificial bay there, or just, Melanie, can you speak to that?
I would, through Mr. Chair, I expect it's probably just due to natural accretion and erosion. The shoreline moves, and depending on the tides, up in field, some people are losing their property, some people are gaining their property. The lot lines are established when the subdivision plan is laid down, but over time, sometimes those lot lines, because it's an ambulatory boundary, they fill in or they erode back. So the survey shows what it was, but it might not be exactly the same on the ground.
Thank you.
Mr. Rebel.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, regarding Mr. Fisher's question, I did visit the site, and the owner has spent a lot of money to stabilize the bank, and it's I think it's secure now, and it shouldn't erode anymore. He has made a quite I don't know if he had an engineer design it for him, but it's very well done from what I've seen.
And through you, Mr. Chair, one of the recommendations in my report was that properties are supposed to keep some the vegetative buffer. And it would be my recommendation that this property, that some of the buffer be reinstated to meet the current bylaw, when that some 50% of that shoreline be reinstated to a natural vegetative sort of situation, which would further stabilize that slope.
So Melanie, I have the lot grading plan will be included in the site control plan, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
We have a standalone lot grading bylaw, but we'll include this into the site plan as one package rather than a bunch of different stuff.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Is there anybody in the audience that needs to comment? Not sure if I don't. Mr. Morrison is not there, but are they all hearing me or? Yes.
I can hear you.
Okay. So I'll pass it to a vote, I guess. Everybody has had their chance, and all in favor of this application? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, carried.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very quickly, before we move on to our next meeting, because we have people waiting, I'm asking this committee whether or not we want to meet in August or whether we want to have a little holiday. It's entirely at this committee's discretion, and I'll ask the same question of the Committee of Adjustment at the next meeting. Currently, in case the question comes up, we have no applications in sitting in abeyance at the moment. It doesn't mean some won't come in, but I'm just asking, do we want to meet in August or do we want to?
I recommend that we meet in September only, but that's my opinion. Any other opinions out there? Joanne?
I concur with your recommendation, knowing that there's no other application in at the present time. And it allows the planning department to be able to enjoy the month of August without any meetings.
Thank you, Joanne. Dan?
No, it's all right, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, any other, Norm?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
So August, September is good?
So we're looking at September the 13th.
Oh, lucky day.
Yeah, so I need a mover and a seconder for the adjournment, and we can move to the next
Melanie,
meeting.
I don't know, is that the same week as our council meetings? I hate to
No,
have,
well, yeah, we will have council on the 14th as well. We always do.
yeah, okay. Thank you.
Unless you want to cancel, unless the mayor wants to cancel council. I don't.
Oh, don't go there.
It's up to you, Joanne.
So
No.
mover and a seconder for the adjournment, please.
Chris and Norm.
It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Norman Revenge. Be it resolved that the West Nipissing Planning Advisory Committee meeting of July the 12th, 2021 is adjourned to September 13th, 2021.
All in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
Good night.
Have a great evening.
Right, bonsoir.
Bye.
Thank you. And we will move.
Norm, so what
Pardon me?
No, I'm talking to Norm, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I'll stay around.
Yeah.
I didn't have time to comb my hair, but
Oh, well.
Oh.
It works before we're done.
Well, it's COVID. Everybody's got
Well,
COVID there, Mr. Norm.
I have time to make a cup of tea now, Mel, yeah?
Yeah, well, we'll take just a quick recess while I change piles of paper. And then we got to get going because we're already running a tiny bit behind.
okay, I'll be right back.
Okay. For those who are waiting for the Committee of Adjustment, if you just bear with us, we're running a tiny bit behind, but we should be as soon as Mr. Fisher makes a cup of tea. And I think Mr. Roberts combs his hair. We'll be right with you.
Mr. Goodrich, can you get me that email address if it's convenient?
I'm sorry, which email?
The one for the lady that we talked about last, Tricia.
Oh, okay, I'll look that up for you for sure.
If it's close, that's okay.
Yeah.
I can send you an email tomorrow.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, and then
Okay.
I'll have a little more time to dig it up for you, and I may
Okay.
need it off Don's computer anyway.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ça, Denis, c'est la femme MNR?
Ouais.
OK, ouais, Trish Moussa, I think.
Mais je voulais pas dire son nom parce qu'on est en...
Oh.
I'll forward it to you, Councillor Senecal. I have it.
You have it? Okay,
Yeah,
good.
I do. I'll send it to you.
Oh, thank you.
No problem.
It's the only way you can reach her, eh? So they never answer your phone.
No, we're not the best at that.
1, 2, 3. Are we all? No, there's still
Oh, we
one.
gotta
is.
wait.
Burn.
Okay.
Can you zoom in, Fern, a bit because he's so small. He's so small there. We can hardly see him.
Je sais pas comment.
I have to call him tiny.
No comment.
Okay. Do we have quorum?
We're ready to go. We can go. I think we can go. We got
Okay,
enough people.
I'll
Chris
call
is
the
back.
meeting to order. Okay, I guess I don't have anything printed there. Okay, so I guess we have to approve the agenda.
Oh, we're missing Mr. Where the heck is
Oh, Mr.
Roger.
Roger.
Yeah.
Oh, Roger.
I'll text him in case he fell asleep on a lawn chair. But we can get started. We have 1, 2,
Yeah.
3, 4. We got quorum. We're good.
Yeah, we have quorum.
Go ahead, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so I believe the first item is the approval of the agenda.
Mover and a seconder, please. Chris? Denise? It is moved by
Okay,
Chris Fisher and seconded by Denise Senecal. Be it resolved that the agenda for the West Nipissing Committee of Adjustment meeting held on July the 12th, 2021 be adopted as presented.
everybody in favor?
Yep.
Carried. Next item, please.
Adoption of the minutes of June the 14th. May I have a mover and a seconder, please?
Yep.
Chris? Norm? Or Chris, Fern? It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Fern Pellerin. Be it resolved that the minutes of the West Nipissing Committee of Adjustment meeting held on June the 14th, 2021 be adopted as presented.
I hope everybody had the opportunity to read them. Is there any amendment or changes? Hearing none, I'll call it to a vote. Everybody in favor as circulated? Carried. Next item, please.
Are you going to give your pre-meeting?
Okay, we're at that. It's because I have nothing printed in front of me. I didn't have a chance to go to the municipal office, so I'm kind of playing it by ear right now. Okay, so the process is that the town planner present the case, the application. If there's a consultant, that person will elaborate on the application. Otherwise, the municipal planner does. The board member discuss the issue among themselves and might ask question either to Madame Melanie or to the consultant. And after that, then it's open to the audience if they have comments or want some clarification. This being what they call a quasi-judicial body is to make sure that everybody understand the process. If you're mostly French, have a problem understanding part of the English process, you're welcome to ask a question and we'll clarify you what's going on in French. Otherwise, the meeting is all English. Am I clear? When you do make a presentation, please state your name and address because it's got to be recorded to protect your future right. If you're not registered and you're not satisfied with our decision, there's no option to appeal or discuss it further with a higher body. Our decision is final. So please make sure that you're identified into the minutes. Is any question? Hearing none, we'll go on to the first application.
May I have a mover and a seconder? Chris? Denny? It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Vinnie Senecal that a consent application made by Peter and Karen Quinlan to create a new lot at 33 McDonald Road in Verner, being part of lots 4 and 5, concession 5, in the township of Kirkpatrick, being part 1 on 36R 12509 in the West Nipissing municipality. Through you, Mr. Chair, this property is located on McDonald Road. And what is being proposed is to create a new lot which fronts on McDonald Road with 80 meters of frontage and 180 meters of depth, which is well in excess of what is required with respect to meeting our bylaw. It has access from a municipal road and we received no comments.
Okay, any question or comments from the members? Hearing none, then I guess I'll call it to a vote. Everybody in favor as circulated? Carried.
Thank you. Next item, C3721, mover and a seconder, please. Yes. It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Vinnie Senecal that consent application made by Hans Tobler Jr. to create one new lot on Leclerc Road, being part of Lot 2, Concession 1 in the township of Caldwell. For you, Mr. Chair, this application is was taken to the West Nipissing Agricultural Advisory Committee last week. The proposal here is to divide the land roughly in half. The property is, I think, 240 acres-ish, fronts on Leclerc Road and continues a full mile deep on La Plage Road. It is, I believe that the new lot is about 105 acres and the retained lands are about 115 acres. Both of these lots would be become A2 and would not be allowed to have any future severances on either the severed or the retained lands. The Agricultural Advisory Committee had no concerns with respect to the application. The farmlands that are being acquired are being acquired by a local producer who will merge them into his existing operations. So that's that.
So, yeah, I was at the agricultural committee meeting and it was fully supported because this is just one farmer to the other. I believe we'll have 3 applications that are involved in that because one of the farmer wants to go bigger into cash crop business and the other one is in the cattle business. So it's just a change of operation and it's going to be an improvement to the area because it will improve their way of doing business. So the committee did give it full support and I hope this committee will consider it also. Any question or comments? Hearing none, I will call it to a vote. Oh, good evening, Roger.
Good evening. Sorry for the delay.
It's all right. So I'll call it to a vote. Everyone in favor as presented? Carried.
There it is there.
Next one,
Through
please.
you, Mr. Chair, first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to share my screen because I want to bring this one up. And I'd like to just put something up here for a moment.
Sure.
Okay, can we all see what's going on?
Yep.
So what I propose, Mr. Chair, I'd like to present file number C38, C42, and C40 together, just because it makes more sense. Mr. Chair?
Yes, it's okay. I'm listening.
Oh, you're okay with that?
Oh, yeah, I'm very
Yeah.
comfortable with it.
Okay, so I will read the resolutions in a minute, but while I'm on a roll here and we have the picture up, I'm just going to explain what's going on here. Just because it's I asked my assistant to put together a compiled sketch because taken in isolation, each of these severances looks very strange and it's kind of weird. So what is happening here? This property here, this property here, and this property here are all owned by Mr. Tobler. So this property here that fronts on Highway 17 and this property here that has fronts out on Beaudry Road are owned by Mr. Tobler. What is being proposed, the areas that are shaded, this red piece, this blue piece, and this purple piece are being carved off of Mr. Tobler's properties, and they are being conveyed to the same local producer that was in the previous application. So those things are all going to become one field owned by the same owner. What's happening up here in C42, this property is owned by Mr. and Mrs. Beaudry. Their home is here, and what they're seeking to do is to remove the home from the farmland, and this farmland is going to be conveyed to a related entity of this same owner. I believe that Mr. Parsons is setting up his son in agriculture, and this property here is going to be acquired by his son. So I hope that makes it a little bit clearer. These are actually three separate files. This one, which is C40, and this one C38, and then this one C42. So I'm just going to stop the sharing and go back to the screen here. So C38, it is, I'll let the chair run it up, the questions, and then I'll read all the resolutions.
Yeah. And I think we have to deal with the three together because one affects the other, and it's all, like I mentioned in the previous one, because it's the same people that are involved, is just to allocate land to serve better agricultural practice. All these lands are staying in the farming business. One is more intense on cash crop. The other one is in cattle raising. So that's why land that is more appropriate to pasture is being retained by one, and the rest of the other family that are applying are going into more in the cash crop business. So that's why it's very confusing, and if you're not involved in the farming business, but I fully understand it. Yes, Mr. Fisher.
So you're going to tell me that this one went to the agricultural board and also has the agricultural board support. Is that correct?
Yeah, it did full support. Yeah. And on that board, the Ministry of Agriculture is involved, and there was no objection from them either. Any other comments or questions from any of the members? Any question or comments from the attendants? Hearing none, I will call a vote. You remember, there will be three different motion, but they have to have all the same support, otherwise it complicates everybody's life. So we'll be voting 3 times.
I need a mover and a
To complete the
seconder
thing.
for all three of them. Roger? Denis?
Okay, everybody in favor, now you're voting for the three resolution in one shot. Everybody in favor as circulated? Carried. The three of them are carried there at the same time.
You are very efficient. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I'll let you catch up there.
I'm good. I'm with you.
Okay, next one, please.
Next item, mover and a seconder, please. Chris, Roger.
Roger.
It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Roger Gagnon that a consent application made by Rael and Madeleine Baudry to create a new lot at 182 Canal Road in Sturgeon Falls, part of Lot 1 concession B in the Township of Springer. Through you, Mr. Chair, we had 2 months ago an application by the same applicant for a lot on the other side. Mr. and Mrs. Baudry own a farm that is fronts on Dutresa. It fronts on Garden Village and on what's the next one? Canal and Dutresa. It's right at the corner. What is being proposed here is to create a new residential lot. These lands are zoned rural, although they do make hay on the back of the property. The previous one was for a lot for their daughter, and this one is for a lot for their son. This property actually has a municipal water because municipal water was brought down Dutresa Road, and there is a line that runs about 150 feet down the street. So these properties can be connected to municipal water and therefore can be a little bit smaller than we normally would have in the rural areas. So that is that. The one condition on the previous, I had indicated that they had to do a section 65 for the municipal drains. This property is in the watershed for a couple of drains, I believe the Dutresa and the Duchesne drains. Given that we're looking at another lot, I think it's prudent to have the engineers prepare an assessment for the maintenance. So as a condition, I've asked that the engineers will prepare a quick report pursuant to section 65 of the Drainage Act to apportion the maintenance assessment for those two drains going forward.
Okay, any question or comments from the members? Any question or comments from the audience? Hearing none, I'll call it to a vote. Everybody in favor is circulated? Carried. Next item, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. These are related applications. With your indulgence, Mr. Chair, can we deal with them together?
Sure.
Okay, because one doesn't make sense without the other. What we've got here is a piece of property, just by way of history. We have a piece of property that is landlocked, and you'll see on the sketch that's attached, it's the part 1 on plan 36R12084. It's a lot that is, I don't know how or why it was created, but anyways, it's landlocked and has no access from Highway 64/Dovercourt, whatever we're calling it. So what is being proposed here is to firstly add a piece of property from the lot that is fronting out on Highway 64 to the lot behind it, and then to carve a strip off of that lot to add to the lot that is landlocked, thereby creating a long driveway, a right of way from Dovercourt to the back lot, so that back lot, which has frontage on the river, has access. Clear?
Mhm.
You get it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I've done in my recommendations, obviously, is I've made them conditional on each other. So if one doesn't fly, then the other one doesn't fly. So I think that is fairly straightforward. They're owned by, one lot is owned by individuals and the other lot is owned by their corporate entity.
So I guess you'll read the other one and we'll vote on have a
Sure,
combined vote.
So I'm just I'll read the resolutions, and then I forgot to ask their agent if he'd like to have anything to say. So to consent, I need a mover in a second, please. Dennis? Chris? It is moved by Denise Senecal and seconded by Chris Fisher that consent applications made by 2623822 Ontario Limited and by Nico Toulouse and Pierre Seguin Jr. for lot additions at part of lot 4, concession 1 in the township of Springer. That's it.
Okay, so any question or comments from the members? Hearing none, any question or comments from the audience? Hearing none, I'll call it to a
Yes,
vote.
sorry, we have a question for you.
Sure.
With Michelle Dubé.
Please give your name and address, so it has to be recorded to protect
Yes.
your rights.
Okay, my name is Michel Dubé, and I live on 261 Dovercourt Road, which is right across from where you guys are wanted to do that driveway.
Okay.
Okay, when the town,
I'll call you back in a few minutes. Okay?
how can I say that? I got a hard time in English, but I'll try my best.
Tu peux le dire en français, moi le traduire s'ils ne comprennent pas.
OK, normalement, c'est que quand que Toulouse, ils ont donné la fire hall à la ville pour faire le fire department, Toulouse n'était pas supposé de bâtir des lots sur ce bord-là. Il était supposé de faire le easement où ce qui est Bell. Il était supposé juste faire la subdivision à Dovercourt parce que ça a été clamé floodland, qui n'était pas supposé de bâtir encore ces floodland. Puis moi, je veux savoir, c'est quand qu'ils ont mis ça résidentiel pour bâtir. Moi, je n'ai jamais eu de feuille pour dire que c'était plus floodland qu'ils pouvaient bâtir là. Moi, c'est ça que je veux savoir.
Toi, tu parles du terrain qui serait nord-est de la Fire Hall.
C'est ça, qui est entre qui est Michel Lecomte, puis le easement que Bell y ont. Tu comprends-tu un petit peu, Normand?
Oui. Est-ce que tous les membres comprennent le problème que le monsieur emmène?
Non.
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 Non. OK. L'affaire du floodland et tout ça, ces choux-là, si ma mémoire est bonne, mais des fois, elle n'est pas fantastique, ça a été dealé avec quand que le plan de subdivision a été soumis au conseil pour tout le terrain, tout le riverfront, partir pratiquement des ponts qui traversent la rivière, à aller jusqu'au Bell Easement dans le croche le 64 arrivé pour fil.
C'est ça, qui est en face de mon driveway. Non?
Ouais. Fait que ça a tout été dealé à travers la subdivision. Ça a duré, je pense que c'est venu au conseil 2-3 fois. Il y a eu toutes sortes de présentations. Fait que c'est fort probable que tu as eu une notice quand on a dealé avec la subdivision. C'est là que tous les problèmes que tu emmènes ont été dealés avec. Fait qu'à soir, on peut pas ramener ça. Ça a été, disons, établi. À ma connaissance, peut-être que Mme Mélanie a une autre version, là, mais de ma mémoire, c'est ça qui s'est passé.
Oui, oui, il y a une easement de Bell juste ici. Puis aussi, il est seulement floodplain jusqu'au bord de la l'eau. Pas toutes les propriétés sont floodplain. C'est juste le. Est-ce que vous pouvez voir l'écran?
Oui, je le connais très, très bien.
Oui. So, juste la partie à bord de rivière, c'est floodplain. Le reste des propriétés sont seulement R3, c'est residential.
OK. Bien, mon autre concern là-dessus, c'est que où est-ce que c'est floodplain, là?
Oui.
Okay? Ils vont-tu pouvoir toucher la banque ou mettre un retaining wall ou quoi que ce soit, ou ils n'ont pas le droit de toucher à ça pantoute?
On n'a pas, I'm just going to translate briefly. What's the gentleman is requesting Paul and Mr. Fisher and Mr. Goodrich's edification. What is being requested is whether or not there's concern raised about the Bell easement that's in here, and Mr. Goodrich can speak to that. The other issue he's raising is because there is a bit of flood land in here, and he's asking whether or not there would be a retaining wall. To that answer, it's a fair size lot, and there would be a site plan required pour le bâti de la maison. Si la maison est Soixante Key back from the river.
Okay,
We don't have a requirement for a retaining wall per se. But that remains to be seen. He'd have to bring a a site plan in when the time comes, so. And I'll just stop the share and I'll go back to, so the other question that he was asking, Paul, was with respect to during the initial circulation, you remember when the subdivision went in, there was concerns about that bell easement, so I think that's what he wanted to inquire about.
Correct. Could you share the screen with the sketch that we submitted?
I sure can. Hold one moment. I will do that. I will do that. Is that what, let me see.
We're still.
I'm still just seeing
I
everyone's.
know, I'm getting there. I'm
Okay.
old and I don't move that fast anymore.
There.
There you go.
Okay, so as you can see on this sketch, the bell easement is well south of the property. You'll notice easement NB 43001, and you'll also notice easement NB 126447. These are the two easements. I believe the bell easement is the is that the one? No, it's the 126447. The other two, the easement to the south is a drainage easement for the MTO when this was all part of Highway 64. But the lands that we're dealing with are well north. So on this sketch, we show the lands being taken off of the Part 6, Plan 36R 14278, and they'll be added onto the back piece. And then the next sketch simply extended that 30-foot wide strip down to Part 1, Plan 36R 12084 in order to provide vehicular access, making it no longer a landlocked piece of property. Although there was water access, of course, that's not very viable within the town limits. So we really don't encroach at all onto the bell easement. There's no issue with running a driveway down. We're at least, I believe it's 60 feet north of the bell easement at its closest approach. That's the other sketch.
Normand,
Oui.
c'est correct? Tu sais, il vient juste de parler de Part 1, là. Mais Part 1, là, ça n'a rien à faire avec le lot Part 6. Puis où est-ce qu'ils veulent mettre le driveway. Part 1, ça, c'est la maison je ne veux pas dire son dernier nom, là. Part 1, comme vous voyez, là, ici, en haut, là. Part 1, plan...
Oui.
36R, là.
Ouais. Qu'est-ce qu'on deal avec, là? C'est land to be added, là. C'est qu'on l'enlève d'un et on le met à l'autre pour qu'il y ait un driveway parce que là, il est landlocked. C'est ça qui est l'affaire.
Oui, je comprends ça, Normand. Oui. Mais là, vous allez runner un driveway à côté à côté de Mike. Je ne veux pas dire son dernier nom, là. Je veux respecter lui, OK?
Oui.
Vous allez mettre le driveway à côté de Mike, sauf vous allez enlever un chunk du... ça va-tu être...
Non, mais je veux dire, on ne fait pas rien avec les autres voisins, là. C'est juste... Le propriétaire qui applique, c'est lui qui a...
Non, je comprends ça, Normand. Il va juste enlever la grandeur de son terrain pour faire un autre driveway pour avoir accès en arrière des 3 autres neighbors.
Oui.
OK, je comprends ça. Mais comment pied il va faire le driveway pour aller aux autres?
Tu dis comment pied?
Comment
large qu'il va faire le driveway pour aller accès à les autres propriétés qui en arrière.
What's the proposed width of the driveway, Paul?
Well, the entire strip that we're adding on is 30 feet wide. The driveway will probably be about 10 feet wide with 10 feet on either side. That would permit, if there's any ditching required along the driveway, that we have room to do that.
For maintenance purpose and all, yeah.
That's correct. And it also allows for snow storage in the winter time, so that when the driveway is plowed, we're not plowing onto the neighbor's properties.
And this is a driveway, it's not a municipal road, so.
That is correct.
So the standards are quite differently.
OK.
Yes.
Puis, mon autre question, Normand, c'est
Oui.
que comment est-ce qu'il y a de maisons qui peuvent bâtir là? C'est-tu 3 maisons, 4 maisons, 5 maisons?
On ne sait pas, c'est
Un
un
maison.
lot. C'est un lot comme c'est là.
OK, so c'est le lot.
Donc, ça va servicer le lot, comment il appelle, le Part 1, là.
OK.
C'est accès à ça. S'il y a d'autres développements qui sont appliqués pour plus tard, ça, c'est un autre issue, ça n'a rien à faire avec l'application qu'on regarde comme c'est là. Là, tout ce qu'on fait, c'est adresser l'accès du chemin public à cette propriété-là. La personne qui crée l'accès, il appartient le terrain. Puis, il y a de la place pour le faire sans réduire ces choses.
OK, bien, c'est juste qu'il va réduire les 2 autres lots qui est à côté de l'accès.
Mais c'est à lui le terrain, là.
Oui, non, je comprends. C'est tout à eux autres le terrain.
Oui.
Je comprends tout ça. C'est juste ça va réduire que s'il veut user les 2 autres terrains pour le bâtir.
Bien, s'il érudit trop, il va être limité dans ce qu'il peut bâtir. C'est mathématique tout simple.
OK. So, ça prend soin de ça. Puis, mon autre question, c'est que il commence à avoir bien des maisons à bâtir, dans mon coin.
Oui.
Et moi, j'ai vu beaucoup d'enfants se faire blesser. J'ai vu une madame, je ne dis pas son nom, elle poussait son petit bébé de 2 ans dans son carrosse. Le transport, il a fait le coin chez nous, puis le transport, il a frappé le carrosse. On n'a pas de trottoir.
Ça, là, c'est un issue qu'on ne peut pas dealer avec à soir. OK? Parce que ce qu'on fait là, c'est seulement une application de driveway, c'est pas un plan de subdivision. On ne peut pas discuter, ça ne fait pas partie de cette application-là. Puis nous autres, on est limités à l'application sur son mérite par elle-même. Fait qu'il n'y a rien d'autre qu'on peut y faire.
OK. Là, je veux juste avoir une question, oui ou non. C'est tout que je veux savoir. Je ne veux pas avoir une explication. Ouais. No matter qui c'est qui va arriver à soir, on ne peut pas l'empêcher de faire un driveway là. C'est ça que tu essaies de dire?
C'est ça que j'essaie de dire.
OK. C'est beau. Ça répond à ma question. Merci beaucoup, Normand.
OK, t'es bienvenu. Any other question or comments? Okay, hearing none from the audience, hearing none from the members, I'll call it to a vote. Everybody in favor as circulated? Carried.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Okay, next item. Mover and a seconder, please. Roger. Yes. It is moved by Roger Gagnon and seconded by Chris Fisher that a consent application made by Rock and Julie Duchamp to add for a lot addition at 740 Burt Lake Road in Sturgeon Falls in the West Nipissing municipality. What is being proposed here is fairly straightforward. The owner of 700 Burnt Lake Road would like to add to the owner of 740 Burnt Lake Road in sort of a lot addition across the back. It's 76 meters in depth and 160 meters wide to be added to the property at actually on line 750 Burnt Lake Road.
Okay. Any question or comments from the members? Seems very clear. Any question or comments from the audience? Hearing none, I'll call it to a vote. Everybody in favor as presented? Carried. Next one, please.
Mover and a seconder.
Sure.
Chris?
I think Fern there, we don't see much, but I think I saw his hand move.
Okay.
You'll have to look bigger next time then. We miss you.
Remind me, Fern, to zoom you in before I leave you alone next time.
Okay.
It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Fernand Pellerin that a consent application made by Elvin Lupera, Cesar Araibeyo, Godfredo Camacho to add to create two new lots at 786 Highway 17 in Verner, being parts 13 and 14 on Plan 36R13434 in a part of Lot 7, Concession 5 in Kirkpatrick Township. For you, Mr. Chair, what is being proposed here, we have two existing lots that were created by consent a little while ago. And what is being proposed here is to further divide each of those lots into another lot, such that all of the individuals would have their own lot. All of these lots have the sufficient frontage, and actually I'm fibbing. They're going to put the two in the middle together, not two new lots. So they're taking a piece off of each end to add to one in the middle to create one new lot in the center. All of the lots will result in lots having sufficient frontage and sufficient area. And I'm going to see if Mr. Miller has anything to say. Are you there, Mr. Miller?
I am. No, you've covered it all. It's three owners that own these two properties, and they want to create a third property, so they each own one.
That sounds very clear. Any comments from the members? Any comments or question from the audience? Hearing none, I will call it to a vote. Everybody in favor as presented? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Okay, through you, Mr. Chair, this next application has a concurrent minor variance, and if you don't mind, we can deal with the severance and the minor variance together,
Sure.
just so that we are not going back and forth. So the property is an island located in Lake Nipissing in the township of Loudon. What is being proposed here is to create two new lots on the property. Each of these lots is just a little over a couple, they're each of 2 to 2.5 acres a piece. And what is being proposed here is to make basically two new lots. One of them has a shorter, what is the minor variance for? Well,
it's because they're less than a hectare.
oh, that's right. It's the lot area. Sorry, I got a small mistake on my paperwork here. So we're reducing the minimum lot area from 1 hectare to 0.8 of a hectare in shoreline residential zone. All of the lots have well in excess of the frontage required and are just shy of the lot area.
Okay, any question or comments from the members? Any question or comments from the audience? Hearing none, I will call it to a vote.
Just before, I'm sorry. Just before you do, I just wanted clarification of one of the conditions of consent was the sign off of the North Bay Mattawa Conservation Authority. Typically, we just have a septic, someone who's either an installer or someone who's familiar with septics, be able to go to the site and also provide that letter. Does it have to be the Conservation Authority, or can it be the septic system contractor that our client is looking to use? They're going to have to get the Conservation Authority out in any event to approve when they do build the septics, and also to it's just a little onerous to get the Conservation Authority out to an island site.
No, that would be an issue between the proposed contractor and the Conservation Authority, depending if the proposed contractor deals with them on a regular basis. They will usually say, okay, you know what you're doing, go ahead, and we'll go inspect at the time, when the trenches are open, the pipes are down, they put their level, their transit, and they do it in one shot, because they have experience with that contractor. If the contractor is not pre-registered with them, quite probably they will want to visit the site twice. And you have to pay for 2 visits or whatever. So unless the rule have changed, that's how it was in the past. Oui, Madame Mélanie.
Well, for you, Mr. Chair, remember, I don't know if you remember, when we had our official plan and council was appealing the official plan, and there was a lot of back and forth going on about lot area, if you'll recall, Mr. Chair, you were on council at the time, and there was a lot of back and forth between what was the minimum lot area in a shoreline residential zone. What they did concede to was that the language states that if a lot is less than a hectare, it'll be allowed only if technical studies are shown to justify it. So that is why I included the condition regarding the septic review by the Conservation Authority. And I agree with Mr. Goodrich, it is a pain in the neck to have to get the Conservation Authority out there. But the Conservation Authority, I know when they do a review, will issue a letter to the municipality, which will indicate that the property can or cannot sustain a bed, and what kind of a bed and how big of a bed and what is the minimum building size or maximum building size that they can build. So that gives a little bit of assurance when we're issuing building permits. That's why I had asked for that condition.
So I think that restriction has to stay with the decision tonight, Paul. Sorry about that.
Well, the only thing is we've had a number of these approved for the last, whatever it is, 5 or 6 years now, on the strength of the contractor's letter. And I'm just wondering why the change of policy now.
I'm getting meaner as I get older.
Okay, that I can concede to.
No, I'm trying. I'm trying to be more consistent with all of our applications and following policy as we move into an official plan review. I want to look like I'm following the rules.
Oh, I don't think that there's been any concern that you haven't been.
I'll leave it in for now and we'll have a conversation about it tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Paul.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, that's the best we can do.
So,
okay, any other question or comments?
So we're looking at the, so I'll just read the application. So the consent application made by, I need a mover and a seconder for these, first of all, sorry, Chris. Roger.
And Denis.
It is, I saw Roger's hand. So it is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Roger Gagnon, that a consent application made by SBK Completion Solutions to add 2 new lots on Island 88, being parcel 7047, the east part of Island B8 in Loudon Township. And further, it is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Roger Gagnon that a minor variance application by SBK Completion Solutions, Inc. To reduce the minimum lot area from 1 hectare to 0.8 of a hectare in a shoreline residential zone be granted.
So you realize that we are voting both on the minor variance and the severance application in one pass, okay? So I'll call it to a vote. Everybody in favor, as both resolutions were circulated, carried.
Thank you.
Okay. Last application, mover and a seconder, please. Dennis? It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Denise Senecat that a minor variance application made by Robert and Lori Roderick for property described as 89A South Shore Road and Field, being parcel 19504 Nipissing, being part of lot 13 concession 2, summer resort location 79, and being part 7 on plan 36R 11031 in Field Township. For you, Mr. Chair, what is being proposed here is Mr. and Mrs. Rodering are seeking to convert their existing deck into a sunroom. As you'll see, the existing dwelling is already legal non-conforming, being the corner of the deck is only 32 feet back from the water. What they're proposing to do is to close in, they're going to actually remove the deck and they're going to create a sunroom at the front. But because it's closed in, it does have to come before this committee because it then becomes part of the building. So what is being sought is a minor variance to reduce the minimum setback from 60 feet to 32 feet to allow this sunroom construction on the front of their existing cottage. I have no concerns. There's already a deck there in that same space now. And I've no concerns that putting some walls around is going to create any adverse effect, any more adverse on the effect on the lake than what's already going on there.
So I guess we're just adding a screen to an existing porch in theory.
Pretty
And now
much.
to make it,
Well,
to make it
there is
legal.
there is a building permit for this, and it's more, a little bit more than a couple of screens. It is an actual addition to the cottage.
I understand there. I'm kind of, okay, Roger, you have a question?
Is that area in the lowlands area? It's like, is there any risk in as in hazard land?
No.
No?
Not
Okay.
there.
No.
I'm good.
Any other question or comments from the members? Hearing none, I'll ask the audience, any question or comments? Hearing none, I'll call it to a vote. Everybody in favor as presented, carried. And I believe that's it, eh?
That's it.
Thank you.
That's it. And the loss committee all decided that we're going to have a little bit of a rest, and we're not going to come back until September 13th. Are any complaints from this committee? Rogers?
I see all, lots of hands clapping,
Mr.
so I guess
Fisher.
it's unanimous.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, yes, Chris? Yes,
So
Mr. Fisher?
what is all this? I'm just wondering what this stuff at the end, the certificate, 30 DeBow Street, the 1970.
Oh, sugar. Thank you, Chris. I totally completely forgot.
I'm
because it
on the
came in-
ball, eh?
Thank you very much, because it came in late on Friday afternoon. What we have here is we have, you'll recall in the past, we've had situations where there were prior Planning Act violations. And what was discovered in the proposed sale of a property here in Verner, what was discovered was that back in the past, there had been a brief moment in time, and Mr. Alain Michel had provided an email indicating the circumstances by which it came about. Anyways, the lawyers for the buyers, they discovered there was a prior Planning Act violation. And what is being sought here is a certificate of validation to basically put on the title of the property to just right the wrong that happened before, because there was never any intention for those properties to merge. It was just an accident through, I believe it might have been a foreclosure or something of that nature. So that what is being sought by Mr. Michel is the consent of this committee to grant a certificate of validation.
Is that clear for everybody? It is. Oh, Chris, you have a question?
So, and Melanie, you've looked at this and that would be your recommendation?
Yes, I have no concerns whatsoever with what is being requested. It's very straightforward.
Yeah, it's just a technical cleanup.
Yeah, there was no intent to circumvent the Planning Act. It was just one of those situations where, something merged and it was over time. It's changed hands 2 or 3 times since this happened, but somebody finally caught the boo-boo, so is being requested to clean it up while we're at it, just to fix it once and for all.
Yeah. Basically, to make it simple, Chris, is they started the process. They were dealing with the transfer or the activity. In the meantime, there was an amendment to the Planning Act, and it received royal assent between when they started the paperwork and when they filed it at the registry office. There was a 2-week, and it just happened that the act changed legally in between the 2 dates. And it just to clean that out, that cleaned up those 2 weeks there, right, Melanie?
That is exactly correct. And it was just at a funny time when the Planning Act, when all this lot division stuff came into being.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So anyway, so I would like a mover and a seconder for that resolution, please.
Mel.
Vern? Who else has got their hand up? Chris? It is moved by Fern Pellerin and seconded by Chris Fisher that a certificate of validation be issued for the property located at 30 Dubot Street, owned by Danielle and Rachel Michel.
Okay, and everyone in favor? Carried. And I believe you've also voted in favor of the next meeting to be September 13, carried.
Yes, indeed. Not letting that slip by.
Okay,
Well,
so we're
and
done.
everybody enjoy the rest of your summer.
Okay,
Hey, Dennis, just hang on the line for a second. It's just Dennis. Was it the woman from the MNRF that you needed the,
I already gave it to him.
oh, okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Am I free now? Am I free? I
Yeah.
can go
You're free
away.
to go.
Okay,
James,
bye.
James,
Thanks,
you joined
fellas.
a little bit
Have a
late.
good-
Everything is good. Everything was approved.
Bye-bye.
have a good summer, everybody. Good evening.
Here.
See everyone in September.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
James, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Everything went through.
Okay, sorry I'm late getting, I had some equipment difficulties and I
Yeah,
just,
no worries. I just wanted to let you know that everything went through. No concerns were raised and it's all good. You'll be getting a letter from Tanya and, you know, it's showing you what the appeal periods will be and then you can carry on.
excellent.
All right?
Hey, thanks for
Thank you,
that.
James.
Have a good summer.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Did you have a question, Madeline?
No, I'm good, Melanie.
Okay, thank you. Good night.